Hey, Hope More family. Hey, Hope More family. I normally start off these broadcasts yelling and screaming and saying, I'm so excited, and, join me and click and share and subscribe on Hope More YouTube. But I don't know. Right now, it is so burdensome to think about the fact that so many homes across the United States, the place where love should be is violence. So I'm going to ask you to come on, share this to your personal Facebook page, send it to your groups that permit it by their group rules, share it with anyone you think who could really benefit from a discussion regarding evicting domestic violence hell. And yeah, get the hell out of my house. Get the hell out of your house. And like yesterday, I've been very prayerful about what to share and how to share. This may not be as long because so much of this is really self-evident, but I want to release and encourage anyone out there who's struggling with the idea that maybe them or someone they love is struggling with the idea of actually doing that, actually making the decision to evict domestic violence hell out their home. Or in some cases, you may need to be the one to leave if you find that relief is not possible the other way. So click, like, share, and if you're a Hope More YouTube channel subscriber, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can find out when we're on. I tell you, I want to thank you for embracing subscribing on YouTube this week. I've had more people subscribe this week than I have ever. So I've gotten a little bit more than 30 subscriptions, right? But as I've been sharing before, I'm going to be trying to increase the likes and the opportunities to be found and searched on YouTube channels. So come on, as sometimes one of my favorite bloggers says, get in here, get in here. Oh, goodness. And now my cell phone doesn't want to respond. So I may not be able to share this to my own page until after we're done. Okay. It is really being stubborn. Some of you may have seen the replay, but July 21st, I had a wonderful, wonderful guest. She's a sheriff's office advocate. She was on and we got a chance to talk about legal interventions. And later that week, I talked about spiritual interventions and like literal physical interventions when it comes to domestic violence. So that is posted again. So feel free to watch that replay. And my goal is really not to go over a lot of those same basic tips, but listen, let's talk. So we're not learning, huh? We are not learning. As some of you already know, I have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful hometown called Perry, Florida that I relocated to after my parents' health had some deep declines, and I came from Atlanta, Georgia. So in my mind, Perry, Florida, with all of its challenges, is still one of the best little towns in the world. And so a few months ago, our community was rocked with 3 domestic violence related homicides. Yep, homicides. And we had a candlelight vigil. We had more and more and more sort of like opportunities for people to discuss things. Some of you inbox me. Some of you, actually, one person I'm really excited about wants to volunteer to work. And I think I have the perfect position for you. So I just saw like what sounded like, and what I am excited that still remains, a new refreshing type of thing that the community is like more aware that domestic violence is not acceptable. It doesn't matter if your grandfather used to slap your grandmother. It doesn't matter if your cousin used to hit her husband, domestic violence is not acceptable. And unfortunately, because of culture, the sense of shame, money, come on now, often the person who is being abused has less financial freedom, maybe children, maybe even your sense of religion are keeping people in circumstances. So this week, and I'll try to pick up the pace because the energy is draining, because this is a draining topic. But in the last couple of weeks, I keep seeing headlines like this. Former principal detained. Actually, this is one of the first articles. There's been newer ones since then. That here in my little picturesque town, a former school administrator, Sabrina Lytle, was basically accused of discharging a firearm in or around her home with her husband and children inside. At first, she was interviewed, but then she wasn't arrested. And now, a few weeks later, we understand that not only was she detained and arrested, but she was charged with 3 felonies, plus misdemeanors to include child abuse and aggravated assault. The sheriff of our town actually had a companion article recently that basically said, it's my fault that she wasn't arrested. So we're going to talk about that. And then I think this is from yesterday's paper. Yeah. Assault with a belt and rifle. In here, this handsome young man, Joseph Travis Murphy, he was accused of brutal domestic violence incident with a man in which a man attacked a woman with a belt and then threatened her and her mother with a deer rifle 3 weeks ago. But now he's in jail. And hopefully he'll be dealt with. And you even hear different things like he placed his hands around the victim's throat and forced him to the ground. As a person who works in domestic violence, these things aren't surprising, but people's continual response and blaming the victim or not understanding how serious it is to get out or evict out domestic violence hell. So even if I'm only with you for 20 minutes to talk about it, I want to talk about it because, the Bible even talks about learning precept upon precept. So we did a show on the 21st. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so I'll probably do some shows on that. But then besides our local papers showing that we still have these extraordinary situations of domestic violence, you see in the news, it's all over the place. And this one particular place or story really hit close to home because it was dealing with a pastor whose actions led to the end of someone's life. And if you haven't heard the story, I'll talk about it a little bit. And I want to just give a shout out right now. Thank you. I love my sisters in arms. Yes. Thank you. Hello, Adrian, pastor and overseer. And Tracy, you always. Yes, we love our Perry. Sudi, hi, hope. All right. Thank you all so much. South Carolina, North Carolina, Perry by way of Massachusetts. And wait a minute, where are you from, Adrian? I forgot. Springfield? No. Well, you're in Perry now, so that's all that matters. Man, this thing is burning me because I it's so hard to be chipper about it. But I want to talk about this pastor. It's interesting. Often he's referred to in the news as the Ghanaian pastor, but he lived in Florida and he was married to a beautiful young woman. And you got to see, I love it. That's right, Adrian, Perry, Florida. You got to see the circumstances that sort of built up to what ended up being this pastor feeling that he had the power to take the life of his wife. Now, let me just sort of set this up before before we watch this video. So not only is he a pastor, he is a pastor of a charismatic church that believe in deliverance of spirits. And interesting enough, right? Yesterday I was talking about evicting demonic spirits and all this kind of stuff. He has over 6,000 followers on the internet or social media. And he was very, very popular, very charismatic, and his wife seemed very, very supportive. But what I'm going to show you in the video, I loved it because it shows a clip of him preaching with his wife behind him. So you get a sense of who he is in public. And then we capture some footage a few days before he actually made good on a threat. And what you see is that her brother, her big brother, oh, excuse me, I don't know how to bleep out language because some of it is a little much, but the big brother came and confronted this man for beating and threatening his sister. And at the end, you'll hear a number of things. Now, these people, many of them are from Ghana, and they have, or some other country, and they have a deep accent, but listen closely. And after we watch, then I'll give further comment. Okay? So let's see. We're going to share this thing. Pastor Sylvester Oravali. I'm probably doing a terrible job in getting that last name. All right.
In November, you passed over. In October, you made it out. Now you are in December. Can I speak to somebody? Look at somebody, say, I cannot die. Say, I cannot die.
I cannot die.
No.
Now this is the video.
No. No, it's not okay, Barbara. It's not okay. You cannot defend him. It's not okay.
You cannot always be assaulted and say, call the cops.
Do you see what he just did? No, Barbara. No, Barbara, I'm tired of you. No, I'm tired of you now. No, absolutely not. Do you? I know that. I understand. I get it.
I'm not going to come down. We are not going to fucking come down.
What you see is the man in the white shirt is the brother, and he's pounced on the husband of his sister.
No!
Because you started this. Here we go. You're going to go to the other room, and you're not going to come out.
Barbara, what about that one?
Fuck you up. I'm telling you.
Barbara, that folder.
That's the divorce document.
Get up and go to the fucking room.
No.
I don't know what the fuck is wrong
Barbara,
with you.
move.
Keep acting up, I'll fuck you up. No, try me. All right. Try me. Okay. Try me. All right. Try me.
No, sorry. Why? That was unnecessary.
Don't give me the chance to bring these things.
Don't do that, Barbara. What if you keep it by yourself?
Isn't this the same sister that you fucked up? What did I fuck up about my sister? What did I fuck up about my sister?
Perry, what did I tell you? Let him go in the room. Perry,
Leave him alone.
You should go. We don't need this, right? Okay. All right.
You are the same person who supported me at the wedding, right?
I will support you at the wedding because you were fake. You were fake. You were lying.
Perry.
You were fake. You and everybody that follows you. You were fake. I supported you because I told you were different.
So now you
are
here.
not like your family.
Support your sister.
Yes, I'm here to support
The
my
same
sister.
sister
And I'll always
who the pastor told you that she was a witch.
Which pastor?
Am I right?
Pastor. Name that pastor. Which pastor told me my sister?
The same sisters.
Which pastor? Name the pastor. Is it you? You are a pastor. You.
Oh.
You don't know whether you are or not you are a pastor, my friend. Get the fuck out of here before I fuck you up. We didn't come here for you. We did not come here for you. Don't let me hurt you. Leave. We didn't come here for you. We came to like something.
Can I promise you something?
Promise me.
If I don't kill your sister, then me, I am fake.
You got the video, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Right, call the cops.
No, it's
No, call the cops. Jen. No.
Barbara, stop that.
Tanya, you don't play with threats like this. Jen, I'm calling the cops. No. You don't play with threats. Please call the cops.
only going to escalate.
It should escalate. He's threatening you in front of me. He said he's going to kill you. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
All right, just make sure it's there so we can go. If that's it, let's go. Let's just get the hell out of here.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
Make sure let's get out of here. We ain't coming here no more, Bobby. You lost all.
You heard what he said?
Is there anything else you need to get? Bobby, we're done.
Whatever you want to get.
Yeah, we're done. Oh, you lost all this.
No, I'm gonna come back for it.
You gonna come back for what? No, it's okay. It's okay, Barbara. It's another debt that can be paid off. Debt is debt. You cannot replace debt with life, and vice versa. It's gone. This ain't yours no more. Imagine if you come here by yourself.
Even with us over here, he still attacked you. Fabian, don't play with these things.
Why is this a joke
You
to
may not
you?
want to have him arrested, but you have to make a police report. You have to have a police report for future sake. The police need to make a report.
No, I'm gonna use this so you can get a restraining order.
Yeah. And make sure he's not coming in. Can you come look for my glasses, Fabian? Look for my glasses so I can make sure he's not coming in. It fell over there when he's scuffled.
Watch your car. Make sure he's not doing
Oh, I'll fuck him up.
Don't go outside. Just look.
You know, I feel like this particular situation and the fact that we got to see the family's attempt to sort of like save this woman from apparently an abusive relationship, I thought was a great sort of center focus for tonight's talk about domestic violence hell. I was struck, of course, by the fact that they found a clip where he's saying you're not going to die and having you turn to your neighbor and say you're not going to die, but then have him juxtaposed to ending his confrontation with her brother saying if she is not killed, he is fake. I don't know if you guys caught that. That was his last closing words. In other words, he's a false prophet if he does not kill his wife. You may have heard also earlier he say to his brother-in-law, she's a witch. The pastor says she's a witch. And he's like, what pastor? He just keeps referring. He's talking about himself. And I'm not going to get into the deepness of the whole witch thing, but this man is very, 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 very disturbing. I think that this situation not only happens more, I think it happens more than we like to think inside of our churches and our Christian families and our leaders. But the Bible talks about how judgment starts at the house of God. Well, I understand whatever you're seeing in the world is happening somewhere in the church, or too often, too many places. Lord help me. So let's talk about it. I see also the last remaining couple that I put on my flyer was Tamar Braxton, who is a reality star. Braxton Family Values. She, with her ex-husband, had Tamar and Vince. She also is a recording artist, very talented, comes from a pastor family, and now she has her own show. And it highlighted her in her new life as a single dating person. And that couple recently made the news once again, both because she tried to commit suicide, supposedly, and then a few weeks later, supposedly, there's a restraining order because she tried to attack her boyfriend, David, but the family is saying that he actually is the one who attacked her. So all four of these couples, right? I'm just going to say the former principal. Let me start back. I'm sorry. Yeah, the former principal, then the guy with the deer rifle who wants to use a belt and a deer rifle and choking his girlfriend and threatening the mother. Then we have Pastor Sylvester, that is living in Florida, saying and preaching at one point to tell your neighbor that you're not going to die, but then promise that he's going to kill his wife in another. And then we have Tamar and David personalities, okay? So I almost call it like the pimp, the principal, the preacher, and the personalities. I don't know why P's have been popping up all week long. Let's talk about it. The few things I want to talk about regarding eviction as it relates to this. Now, yesterday I was talking about whoredom, right? And evicting whoredom out of your home. Here, in talking about evicting domestic violence, hell, there is a caveat. The separation that I prayerfully encourage all those who may be facing domestic violence hell, the separation is if you can't get that thing out, you need to leave. Leave. If you don't have anything else to remember from this moment, get the hell out. Either you get it out of your house or you get the hell out. I hope I ain't offended all my nice little sweet Christian friends, but the Bible speaks of hell, and I believe hell is the absence of God. And I don't care if he's a pastor or a principal or a pimp or a personality, where there is an absence of God and pure hell is breaking out in the place that should be developing love. You get out or you get that hell out. Either way, it works. Why? Because at the end of the day, the Bible says perfect love casts out all fear. But what if your love life causes you to fear? And I guess more than ever, I feel more passionate regarding trying to make amends, maybe for centuries or decades of misinformation, particularly from people who maybe go to the church or live in small towns and are feeling embarrassed. And it's like, no, people are frustrated during this COVID time. People are dying. Not just because of COVID-19, but now anxieties are worsening and people are having less and less interaction with the outside world. So people who are traveling, yes, truth. People who are dealing with the trauma of domestic violence are more isolated than ever before. So I encourage you to seek help and to get out. Let's look at some, to me, lessons, if you would, that we can be encouraged to think about as I talk about eviction. Get the hell out. Either way, you leave, it leaves, but get the hell out. I sound like a little kid who's so excited to say hell. I'm going to say it again. Get the hell out. Whew, God Almighty. So, some of the points I think from these stories that we can pull from, and I'm going to start with the pastor we're talking about, Pastor Sylvester. One big thing that I think we can learn, and this is also very important for law enforcement, for you, maybe you're an employer, you hear a lot of kind of things. And often the people who are abusing the most horrifically behind closed doors are considered upstanding citizens. Understand, upstanding citizens can be batterers. They can be batterers. Oh, no way. She's so cute. She's an assistant principal, and or she's worked in the school system. Oh, he's so powerful. Oh, when he prays, God moves. Oh no, they have, all those outreaches. He couldn't be beating his wife. He couldn't. No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he could. Now, I'm not saying push the pendulum back, that if someone claims that a pastor or a teacher or someone's normally given a lot of authority is doing something, that means that they are guilty. Because now I've seen it the other way. I've represented a pastor and his wife whose child had an injury, and literally they went from taking the child to the emergency room to not having it wasn't even a 1-year-old child yet, not having her back completely without oversight for 2 years. Could you imagine? And I think it was because during that time there was a pastor all over the news who was abusing children. So him being a pastor actually hurt his case. So understand this, upstanding citizens can be batterers. And I think that's important because we need to take victims seriously when they say, I'm going to be hurt. I can't tell you how many times I've had situations come to me and they're like, no one's going to listen to me. My batterer knows the judge or the sheriff, or, no one's going to listen. And the truth of it is that comes from the idea that your batterer has more credibility, you believe, than that person. But we need to understand as a society, upstanding citizens can be batterers. Okay, I don't have a number. The next one, getting help is not overreacting. This is something that definitely you can see in this situation. So somehow this woman communicated to her brother that this pastor husband of hers was beating her. I personally feel like because things are so dangerous, you really have to really navigate carefully how, as an outside person, outside of the marriage, you want to help intervene. I would suggest, instead of all that time fighting the pastor, just get your sister, get her stuff, and get out. Because that man made him feel good. And I know different cultural things. Like I know the Dems brothers would have probably pulled up with some trucks and tried to pull his body apart. The emotions of the time, you're like, I need to confront this person. Maybe they just need a punch in the chest to get it together. But understand, when a person is leaving a batterer, that is some of the most dangerous times ever. And the person may not have enough power to overpower the friend or the family member trying to defend them, but they know how to get and make that victim pay. And because many victims in domestic violence take 6 to 10 times leaving the person before they actually permanently leave, it gets very, very dangerous, because the very person you're trying to protect, they may, for whatever reasons, financial, religious convictions, feeling guilty or embarrassed, or they are gaslighted and made to think that it's not as big a deal, or they're honeymooned and totally love bombed and told it's going to be better, it's going to be better. They may find themselves right back in that relationship, but don't you know that batterer is going to remember that that brother or that friend came in and like dominated and beat them, and it could only work out, well, I would say most of the time, it often just doesn't work out well for the victim unless they're ready to leave. And in that video that we saw, she didn't look ready to leave. I'm not saying she shouldn't have. And if it was my sister, I'd probably been doing the same thing. Like, it don't matter. You heard her sister-in-law saying, it doesn't matter. She's like, you're not coming back here. And, you saw the hesitance on Barbara putting on her shoes, like, well, I got things here or whatever. She's like, things? Bills, that, trying to speak through her. I also wanted to mention that getting help is not overreacting. So it seems like she tried to get help from her brother. And calling the police is not overreacting. Let me tell you, when and if you're in a relationship, especially before you get married, God, and have some type of hypothetical, or you may share about this particular scenario or others, and the person you're with, if they're like, you know what, if anything ever went off with us, you better not call the police. That may be a sign. Because I'm quick to say, oh, yes, I will call the police and my daddy and uncles. But you're so in love, it's like, ha, 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 there's not going to be no need because you ain't stupid, you ain't going to hit me. But a person feels like you can't get help or that it's overreacting, that may be a sign that in the future there may be problems if you need help. And I do say get help, and one of my commenters said, get help. You do need to seek help and get out. And I know that is not as simple as you just leaving out. Some of you have money issues or children or property matters. That's why getting help also includes, maybe before you ever call 911, is calling different domestic violence certified centers. There's one almost in every county, every region of the country. You need to call and find out who those people are, because you can actually go and get counseling and what they call safety planning to know how to literally plan how you're going to leave. So let's go back to Pastor Sylvester and his homicidal ways. If his wife, Barbara, say that with her brother, Maybe one idea, instead of the brother beating him up and confronting him that way, he like gets her out with her clothes and goes with her to some type of domestic violence center. One of the things they would ask is like, where do you work? You know, what's the route? Where is he now? Where do you believe he'll be? And some of those questions could also help come up with an idea. Well, this is what you're going to do if you see him. This is how you're going to respond if you're in an emergency situation, but you feel like you can't talk. And also, one of the thoughts could have been, well, when you're going to work for a season, can your brother go with you? Does he show up at your job? Do the people at the job know? You know, maybe there needs to be a situation where your job can adjust your coming in so you can come in the most safe way. I know we often don't think about this, but that's why getting help doesn't just mean calling the police. It means seeking professionals, like at the refuge house here in Taylor County, Madison. There's one in Leon County, Jefferson County, and any certified center that's with the VOCA or the VAWA grants, VOCA grants. Those places can help you. And I'm going to be done soon. You know, I think that's why I prefer noon and morning tapings, because it's been a long day. But this is very important. So it's not for everybody, but hopefully you can sneak this into someone's messenger who may really need to hear this. Now, I want to talk about the idea of this point. Men are domestic violence victims too. So I'm going to move on from the pastor to the principal, or the former principal. Still works for a school board, but I think she's suspended at this point. I purposely haven't over asked a lot of questions about this scenario because of things I do that maybe I'll be able to be of service to the situation. So I'm only reading what the headline was a few weeks ago. But I think it's very telling that in this situation, a woman who's considered upstanding citizen, had a firearm discharging in her home around children who could have been hurt, and a husband who apparently she wasn't happy with, and that she was not arrested until much later. She was questioned and let go. Why do I mention that men are domestic violence victims too? This PC world sometimes forget that men also have been abused, are in danger of harm from women they're in a relationship with. Now, granted, majority of the time it's the opposite way. But when you find men who are being abused or are in potential imminent harm for being victims, I think that people have to give some more attention to make sure they're not allowing microaggressions or some type of bias about what a man should do and how a man should respond to a woman's aggression, that we don't overlook and see the need to protect them also. One of the 3 homicides, actually 2 of the 4 homicides that were domestic violence related were men. The candlelight vigil we had in July, and in support of the end of, or the awareness of domestic violence related homicides, 2 of the 4 people who died were men. One was a man who was killed by his girlfriend, and the other one was a co-worker who was riding with the wife of their estranged husband who killed both of them. So that was a friend, that was someone trying to help. So I think it's important for people to understand that men are domestic violence victims too. So you be on the lookout for that family member or that friend who you like, I don't like not just how his girlfriend or wife or whoever speaks to him, but like she hits on him, and like just like you would for a woman, you know, just like how you may say, like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you're not going to do that in front of me today. And inquire, maybe that person wants help. I am surprised, and I'm glad to see it, that I have a growing roster of men who have come in and say, hey, I need an injunction for protection against this person who's a woman. Men are domestic violence victims too. So I mention that because I think it's very extraordinary that someone could be shooting up in a house with children and a husband and they get questioned and released. I just, it's already been admitted that that was in poor taste, that wasn't great decision making. But I think it also goes to the idea that men who are potentially domestic violence victims are not taken as seriously. Now, that was talking about the principal or the former principal. Let's connect with the fact that we also have issues with abusers sometimes posing as victims. I'm raising this, and I'm taking a chance in raising this because things have not been decided. I won't be on a jury in this. Actually, restraining orders don't require juries, but I won't be in any place of adjudication for the issue that's happening right now in California between Tamar Braxton and her boyfriend David. I don't know. Let's take it. I've already said men can be victims, so I'm not suggesting that Tamar Braxton's boyfriend is not telling the truth because he's a man and she's a woman. She very well could have victimized him. But I also noted that her defense is that she is the victim and he is the person who was a batterer. And I guess they'll know soon enough because apparently this whole interaction was taped. But I wanted to talk about the fact that abusers sometimes pose as victims in order to get an upper hand, in order to go to the courthouse first. It's like, you're not going to kick me out, I'm going to kick you out. You're not going to say I hurt you, I'm going to say you hurt me. And I wouldn't doubt in some ways that that could be the case here, only because it just seems like the young man is an opportunist when it comes to emergency situations. Like, he called 911 when supposedly Tamar was trying to kill herself. And on the 911 call to an operator, he's talking about she's been upset because WeTV won't let her out of the contract. What? And then later you find out that the provision that could let her out of the contract is her having some type of mental anguish or breakdown. It just sounds so contrived, right? So for him to like get a restraining order and then do like a circuit, like, I love her, I would never hurt her, but she tried to kill me. She's, and then she's now saying he said she only hit him after he hit her, and he mentioned murder suicide. It just seemed really contrived. Maybe the whole thing is fake. Who knows? But it happens on a less glamorous level. There are times that people come and they can't get, or no one's listening to them by restraining order because the batterer has convinced them, please give me another chance. But then they run to the courthouse and file an injunction against my client. I have seen so many times that happen, and I'm always shocked. I have a situation right now where even though there's been no restraining order granted, that person has swindled in during this time, basically has taken possession of the children. And because this person actually is the abuser, the client is afraid to go get their children without going through a very expensive custody and divorce thing. And right now with COVID-19 and lack of work, they don't have the money. But this person beat him to the punch. He's saying, you're abusing me. You've abused the kids. And hopefully that thing will work out. But often abusers sometimes pose as victims. But regardless, get the hell out of that house. Get it out of your house. If you have to separate or be separated for a period, it's going to be okay. Just get out. Get out. Now, it's interesting, right? When you're dealing with domestic violence hell, as I'm coining this, people often are embarrassed, right? Small towns people talk. And unfortunately, I've heard people say things like, oh, that's not real domestic violence, because if it was, that person will have like injuries, or that person must like to get beat up on because this is the 5th time. And all these things are so insensitive, so unapathetic. Everybody has a different reason that keeps them trapped. But I want to talk to those who may feel that pressure not to rock the boat, not to bring any attention, not to call, not to get a restraining order because of embarrassment. And I'm thinking that couple where that man was hitting her with a belt. I don't know why they hit him with the belt is so just like in my mind, like, you really think she's a child. You think she is under you. You think you can administer corporal punishment. And then you have the nerve to put a rifle in my face. And then you don't even get dealt with until 3 weeks later. You have to understand, all of us, when it comes to reporting domestic violence, getting help, getting intervention, it is better to be embarrassed than embalmed. It is better to be embarrassed than embalmed. That pastor wife who was behind her husband as he preached down Zion, I'm sure, even as you see her sort of like catatonically responding to the concerns of her brother and sister-in-law, she had been so traumatized, so over and over again, just like trying to make it through and keep it together. You could imagine, like, man, I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't know if they were naturalized citizens yet. I don't know. I don't want to get, ICE involved, people tripping about immigrants. You never know. There's plenty of reasons why people will choose to not be embarrassed, but they can find themselves being embalmed. But what I'm talking about is not victim blaming at all. Please hear me when I say, I don't want you to let embarrassment keep you from getting the help you need, or a friend of yours. And so if someone comes to you, instead of berating them or interrogating them or pointing out that this is the fifth or sixth time that they say they're going to leave, and you can't just, drop everything to attend to them, instead of saying that, tell them, get help and get out. And if I can help you, let me help you. And you helping them, maybe you going with them to talk to the police because they are afraid, or you going with them to talk to domestic violence counselor. Even if you sit on the outside, but it's like, I'll go with you. Even if it's like, you know what? We're going to plan. You're going to have to figure out, let's figure out together how to get the hell out of here. Maybe this job that you have, I'm sorry, coordinate it while your husband's at work. You need to go ahead and resign. You already have some clothes packed up in your car little by little. You get in your car and you go stay with the cousin that he doesn't know anything about until you can get your mind together. It's better to be embarrassed than embalmed. And I tell you, when people use firearms, I'm sorry, that's nothing to joke with. I don't necessarily know if going to prison is what should happen, but I'll know what shouldn't happen and shouldn't be ignored. And shoot, I know Brandy Turner knows. Yes, she's one of our sexual violence advocates with Refuge House. She's spoken on one of my broadcasts, so y'all have to check her out about the sexual violence and domestic violence. And then Tanya, yes, it's better to be embarrassed than embalmed. Facts. Thank you guys for joining me for Vespers. I like the word Vespers because it denotes reflection and during the evening time. But it was really painful to get on here to even talk about this stuff, because you almost think like I shouldn't have to say that a person doesn't deserve to experience violence in a place where they should be experiencing love. And I got a chance to hang out with my parents today. Our morning person fell through, so one of the reasons why this afternoon didn't happen is because I was doing a bunch of other stuff. But I was thinking about my parents, and no matter how crazy everything was growing up or being busy here or there, I had peace in that home. I couldn't imagine what it is to leave the outside world that's already hard enough, it's already hard, and get home and have to protect yourself from someone in the home from hurting you. When I got home, it didn't matter how awkward I was, how chubby I was, dark I was, whatever I was, it wasn't acceptable and rejected on the outside. I was loved, I was protected, I was cherished. And my dad was even so corny after reading an article that you should hug your child at least once a day in order to to step the tide of craziness happening in their life. And so I could be asleep and I feel arms around me like, okay, Dad, you hugged me today. I got my hug. To have a home that is literally hell on earth, I couldn't imagine. But listen, if you survive that so far, you are strong, and you're strong enough to make steps towards protection. This is not blaming you. It's actually, I'm hoping you feel empowered. Thank you so much, Brandy Turner, because I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot to get the number up, because there is help. Love it. She's co-hosting. She don't even know it. The Refuge House has a 24/7 hotline. Please write that down. Everybody. In fact, I'll just keep that up. Please, please, please get the hell out. I mean, I feel like writing a gospel song called Get the Hell Out, because we know hell is real, right? The Bible talks about being in a house with a cantankerous woman is better to be on the to live on the roof. That sounds a little hellish. Get the hell out. And I know it may not be today. Maybe you have to plan it so you have somewhere to go and you're safe and you're not sort of going back and forth, which causes more danger. But get out. You married to a preacher? Praise God, pay your tithe, and get the hell out. You're living with somebody because you can't afford the rent? Try to find a domestic violence shelter that's 3 or 4 counties over and get the hell out. It's not important that you live in a 5-bedroom house when the person who should be there to love you is packing a pistol that you're afraid he's going to discharge on you or she's going to discharge on you. I'm begging you, evict it. Evict yourself, evicted out of the heart, evicted out of the home. Get the hell out. I'm still shaken by the homicides that have happened in Taylor County. The last one that I knew about where they were killed and shot in front of the post office, I sometimes still feel somewhat responsible because there was some type of less than 6-degree connection to my office, to the things I do. And I'm like, I wonder if somebody who knew the information gave it to her, would that make a difference? This is an inconvenient type of eviction. This is not the eviction where you can afford to give 30 days, 60 days, 3 months to try to make up your mind, because by the time you really know that you want to leave, you've probably been enduring it for months, maybe years. So first in your mind, get the hell out of your mind. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be cherished. No matter what you've done, whether it's how you dress or your loud mouth or talking to him crazy or talking to her crazy, all that kind of stuff. Like if I only would have just not made him upset, if I only would just give her what she needs, then they wouldn't be tripping. I don't care. That all is just excuses. No one has a right to put their hand on you. No one has a right to make you feel unsafe. No one. God did not create you to have his expression of love couched in marriage to be something that actually brings hell and a lack of protection. If Jesus Christ is the example of the love that a husband should have to his wife, then you're actually in the opposite way. That's like Jesus beating up the church and destroying the church. And if you're not married, also, come on now, like you ain't even got no investment in covenant. Get out. Get out. Well, man, there's some Vespers for you. I don't have a play-by-play, but I just want to put it again in front and keep the beat going that you do not deserve or have to be in that situation. I realize that the different circumstances for different people requires a different level of preparation, but get out. my co-host Brandy, that's a very good point. If you are afraid, you can call anonymously and just get information to help you leave in the future. In fact, thank you so much, Brandy, because I didn't even think about putting my number down there. I do injunctions for protections in Madison, Taylor, and Jefferson County. I've also done them in other counties like Leon and Lafayette and different places. I've even gone up to Gadsden. But if I can't help you, different outfits like Three Rivers, legal services can help. There's legal services in North Florida. But if you contact me, I will help you try to find someone to help you. So I'm with the Injunctions for Protection Project under Refuge House, and my number, and hopefully it'll stay the same way because we're having some changes, is 850-544-9578. I almost wonder if tonight was just about giving a time to just discuss things, because I don't have any answers. I don't know. I just feel like people need to understand that they need to get out. I'm not saying things won't get better. I'm not saying counseling doesn't work, but you can be saving yourself and your partner or whoever this person may be who is acting in violence space to actually really heal, so that because hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. It's so weird. And I'm gonna say this and maybe pray and go out. I don't know what it's like to be battered or physically threatened, but I do know it feels like to be controlled and manipulated and afraid to rock the boat by pushing back. And I'm embarrassed, right, to say that I've been in a relationship where if I was honest, at times I could see the rage that potentially this person would kill me one day, that they could kill me one day. And I had to make a decision. And it's sad to say that decision to break up with this person was not metered by that fear. A part of me is like, well, maybe that's just the passion that's speaking, and maybe I'm just overreacting. But when I did break up with that person, I didn't really at first tell some people who are close to me. But then I had a dream that he tried to kill me. And the very people who was close to me, he was asking them where I was because he wanted to make some type of romantic gesture to win me back. And so when I woke up that next day, I had to tell those people, like, we're over. I didn't tell them that I had a dream that he was going to kill me, but I was just like, I wanted to tell everyone. And I blocked. When I say I blocked, I blocked. I blocked. But if I'm honest, this person came in and out of my life for a while before I actually ended it. And this person never hit me, never said out of his mouth, I will kill you. But I had this sense that it was inside of him. So I feel like I was one or two bad decisions from overlooking that and inviting this person into my life permanently. So for those who haven't even decided to marry the person or stay with the person or move in and all that great stuff, I think God is telling you something when you can imagine that person killing you. That's not That's not just, overreaction and dramatics. God is warning you. And listen. And listen. Wow. Well, this is maybe my Selah. I want to thank Brandy for co-hosting from the sidelines. Again, I'll put that hotline number up. For Tanya, yes, it makes us want to cry. For Chandrika, and for my girl OA, and for Tracy King. Thank you guys. If only you group of ladies continue to just hold up the standard and make sure people understand they can get help, then we've done something that would impact that person. So Father, I thank you so much for your love. I thank you that you sent your son to die on the cross to actually, take back the keys of hell and the grave. And although this prayer is for those who may be feeling trapped in hell, literally on earth in their homes, I thank you, God, that you've given us a way out. And that if they feel like they have no clue, I pray, Lord, that you would visit them even in their dreams, or maybe someone they can confide in, even if it's a stranger, God, but someone who's been designated to help people. Lord, I pray you open the doors for them, not just to be able to have access to them, but for them to have the courage to reach out. Lord, I pray for those who, I even pray for the batters. Most batters are also prior victims of violence. I pray that those who are redeemable, that they would be redeemed, God, that they would go to batters intervention, that they really would have the space to get it right before something like homicide or assault would be their trajectory. Lord, I pray for healing for families, healing for children, the little boys and little girls right now who are learning in the wrong way how to control and dictate through violence, those who are going to bed afraid every night because there's no peace. God, I pray for peace to find them in a great way with the people that are surrounding them, Lord, and even in the midst of many people still staying at home and quarantining. Let us, God, have an ear to see and watch, or a hear and to see and watch for people who may need help. Show us how we can help people. Show us how we can make ourselves available, not to be Superman or to make a situation worse, but to at least be there for when someone is ready to speak and talk. And Lord, I particularly pray for Taylor County. I pray, God, for such a small town, we can have some mammoth issues. I pray, God, that you would help give people more boldness to come forward, to not be afraid of being embarrassed. If it'll mean they'll save their life, their mentality or their mental health or their children's legacy, that they would come forward and get help that they need. I pray for a great refreshing for those who often are service providing, for people who are in trouble, and maybe they themselves just need a break. God, I pray, Lord, for a great refreshing on them. I thank you for hearing this prayer in this time. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Well, thank you all for joining me here on Facebook Live and on our YouTube channel, Hope More. I love you and I mean it. And I pray and I look forward to connecting. Oh, wow. Thank you, ladies. Tanya, God is speaking. We must listen when he does. No problem. Thank you, Brandy. I'll pay you later. Oh my gosh. I just couldn't, I don't know. I don't want to cry. I just couldn't imagine not finding peace at home and being afraid of where you lay your head. I guess it's so opposed to what I know God's best is. It just breaks my heart. But thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. This may have been one of the the most lack of energy and bouncy parts of my shows of late, but it's okay. They're sober moments. And hoping more does not mean that we ignore the problems, and the problems are deep and sad. But just like some of you who have even commented, and some of you who will see and watch this in the future, you overcame it, and others will too. Yeah, it is heavy. It is heavy. All right. That's my phone number below. If you need an injunction and you live in the Big Bend area, I could definitely try to help you. Even if you don't live in Florida, there are domestic violence information all over. So, okay, I'm letting go now. I'm giving you bye-bye. And I will talk to you later. God bless you. I love you, and I mean it.